With visittanzania4less.com, you can celebrate Christmas in the Serengeti and New Year's Eve in Zanzibar with our holiday special. This 9-day adventure through Tanzania's stunning landscapes covers the Serengeti, Crater Tour, and Zanzibar's beaches. Enjoy an unforgettable New Year's Eve party and explore Dar es Salaam, East Africa's largest city. Worried about your budget? Our preferred travel agency, iButterfly Travel, can help finance your dream trip. Contact them at 844-423-5983. Start 2024 on a high note with a unique Tanzanian experience. Call iButterfly Travel today at 844-423-5983 or email visittanzania4less@gmail.com. Reserve your dream vacation with a 30% deposit. Spend Christmas in the Serengeti and New Year's Eve in Zanzibar. If not now, then when?
All right, beautiful people. Hope you're having a great day today. Joining the conversation from Healthwest is Michael Pyne. How you doing today, Mike?
Good. It's good to see you.
Good. It's good to have you on. Today's conversation, we're going to focus around, I guess, social media with kids and mental health. Is there a connection?
Well,
I guess I should say, does social media affect our mental health?
I'll tell you, there's been a lot of research into this over the years. And of course, we all have our thoughts on this. We hear a lot about it. What I can tell you is that social media, what we know, the Surgeon General, maybe now about 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, the Surgeon General, not quite a warning, but the Surgeon General issued a caution about social media. And I'm wondering why not a warning, right? These social media companies generate billions and billions of dollars. And so to all of a sudden issue a warning is probably a little tricky. You and I, Paul, are probably old enough to remember when the Surgeon General first came out with warnings on cigarettes, and that took a little too long. And even until the 1990s, cigarette manufacturers were claiming that cigarettes were non-addictive and did not cause cancer. And that's not that many years ago. But what we know from the research now is that social media does impact our brains. It is made to be highly, highly addictive. They need you to come back. And it appears that more and more we're learning about the impacts to people's mental health. Yes.
So do that mean the less we are on social media, the better off we are?
That's always the question, right? We're living in a social media world. It's nearly impossible to not engage in social media. And so we're likely going to always be connected in some way. But the research also shows that if we can moderate our use and at least be aware of the negative impacts on us, that our brains are going to be better off for it, our mental health, and especially our children. And, a lot of times what we see is, what we saw around 2012, 2013, when our young people were coming up, our, children up to 2012, 2013, and that first group of young people hit college campuses at that time, there was a huge spike in mental health problems with young people on college campuses. And the college campuses were hit unaware. They couldn't keep up with the issues and the problems. And it looks like that connection is to social media. That was the first generation that could carry social media in their pocket, right? The smartphones were starting to come. We could stay connected. And so the more time we can spend away from it, the better. Or at least I hate to tell people to abstain entirely. We can't. It's like television is addicting too, and it's probably not the healthiest to sit in front of the TV all day.
Right.
Moderation is the key. How do you use social media, Paul, besides business?
That is basically where I'm at. I don't necessarily use it. Definitely don't use it for personal. Not a lot of personal. Mostly business. Mostly posting information that I share on TV, that I share with my friends, promoting the public lifestyle. I never post things in my houses, my cars, my personal artifacts, things I have accumulated. Yeah. That's not business related. Other people have, and I'm not against that. So I try to keep that little separation there for life. You know what I mean?
My thing is, if I go to open social media, and I do it once or twice a day, I almost, I don't know, maybe I'm old. Okay, I get it. Maybe young people aren't going to relate to this. But as I open it, although I'll talk to that fact in a minute, as I open social media, I almost have a little sense of dread, right? Like, what am I going to see here? I don't feel like, oh, here's a way I'm staying in touch with my friends and family and I can see pictures of, the kids and grandkids or whatever. It's almost always a little thing of dread. But I can tell you this, Stephanie Williams and myself, we're out there in high school classrooms and talking to young people all the time. And when I ask young people in a high school classroom, how many of you believe that social media has caused you depression? Almost every hand in the classroom goes up. And when I say, how many of you feel like social media has caused you anxiety? Almost every single hand goes up. And of course, the next question would be, well, how many of you are working to moderate that so you don't have those feelings? And it's not very many, although a little bit more lately. So maybe we're starting to see that change. But the other troubling thing is when I say to young people, how many of you go to bed with your screen or your device? Most of those hands go up. And how many of you are interrupted in your sleep by that social media? And a lot of hands go up. That's not healthy for a developing brain to have that sleep interrupted. It's just not healthy.
Wow. I hear a lot about cyberbullying and all that. And I've learned to use the block button. I don't necessarily care about what people have to say about me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to, me personally, you asked me about social media, you don't have to digest it all. It's like you just like you choose who you choose to be in the car with, who you choose to have dinner with, who you choose to eat or be around. That's your option. And I think social media also gives you the option to choose who feed you want to see.
Right.
And we should be selected like that. This generation wants to be accepted by everybody.
By everybody. Right.
Jesus Christ was not accepted by everybody, according to the Bible.
There you go.
Yeah.
I ask also in high school classrooms, we'll ask, how many of you have posted something to social media and because it didn't get enough likes, you took it down? Well, people do that, right? Young people, especially, well, of course, if it doesn't get it, I'm going to take it down. Us who are less young, if we post something and it doesn't get a ton of likes, it's not going to necessarily impact us. But you'll recall, Paul, there was not a like button involved with Facebook and some of these other things. That like button wasn't there in the beginning. But they found that that's what will cause that addiction, that hook, right? How many people liked it? How many people, like favored me? And we go back to that because we get a dopamine rush in our brains. And we have to be aware of it. And so I would even encourage people to maybe think about not using that like button as much because it's contributing to your friend's addiction of social media. And that's a hard ask, right? When you say to people, reconsider how often you're using the like button. But above and beyond that, if you were to post, and we see these all the time, right? If you were to post that you lost a family member, had passed away or whatever, let's not just do the hug emoji or the sad face emoji. Let's be human beings. Let's, if nothing else, send a text outside of that social media and say, I'm sorry to hear about your loss, or make a phone call. Let's get back to that more connected thing. We're drifting from it. Some of the other impacts are, especially with young people today, we see the more that they're on social media, the more that we are on social media, the less we are able to determine somebody's emotional state based on their facial expressions. So if I'm talking to Paul and we're standing at a party somewhere and maybe you're distressed and not feeling well, I'm losing that inability to judge how you may be feeling based on your facial expressions. This is the first time in human history. We need that to survive sometimes, and we're losing that ability. And the other thing that we're losing is our ability to be more compassionate and understanding. That part of the brain starts to atrophy. The good news is if you can set aside social media, if you can have some 2 hours of time in the evening where you're not, engaged in the phone or you're walking, or let's have dinner time be device free to the extent possible. I don't ever tell people, and even in class, no one's going to listen to an old guy in a classroom say, hey, set down that social media, stop. What I try to say to people is, here's what the evidence is showing us, The dangers and the damages are there. States are beginning to put together lawsuits to sue the social media giants to get money for mental health care because of the damage it's done, much like the tobacco companies were sued to pay for all the health problems in the states. And we've gotten billions and billions of dollars. We're beginning to go down that path. And if nothing else, that tells you how addicting and damaging it can be. Moderation is the key. And let's teach our young people about moderation.
Mike Pyne from Healthwest joins the conversation. Is there an age level you think, age limit when it comes to social media? When should our kids get introduced to Facebook?
Yeah, this is tricky. You know, there is a cutoff for social media. You got to be 13 or older to have a Facebook account or an Instagram account. And by the way, Mark Zuckerberg was pushing hard to have an Instagram for children under the age of 13. I think that was shut down by Congress, if I'm not mistaken. But have you seen this in your own family or friends where they'll have a toddler, like a 1-year-old, 2-year-olds who know how to scroll through a screen? We see this and we think it's kind of cute. What we know from that, hey, look, it'll entertain a child. It'll hold their attention. You can make dinner. You don't have to worry. But what we have learned from that is when we do that with those young toddlers, that they don't hit the milestones with their peers who aren't sitting in front of a screen or a device. And so we need to be aware that that is slowing down their progress. And even these, baby Einstein and all of these things we were told help our children when we set them in front of a screen. It's going to help with vocabulary. It's going to help with this. It does the complete opposite. And all the research shows it does the opposite. You will not have a better vocabulary in your child by putting them in front of baby Einstein. So we need to be aware. My thing is to have that conversation as your children are coming up about the dangers or the perils of addiction, all forms of addiction, including social media. And let's have those discussions before you ground your child. Let's say, right, we punish our child and we take away their phone and their access to social media. Let's have those discussions before we start to get to an age where that young person is carrying a phone in their pocket. I would even recommend if they're younger and you really want to be able to stay in touch with them, let's get a dumb phone to start with. It doesn't have to be a smartphone with all that access. Young people are going to hate me for this, right, Paul? What I'm saying?
Right, yeah. They hate. They say you hating on them.
Right. Well, and I'm not. And I'm talking about, between the ages of 7, 8, 9, we see young people with social media in their pocket because families want to stay in touch, or, it's scary not being in touch with your child, we think, right? So I would just encourage families to be aware and have those discussions the same way that we should be aware of television, video games. Moderation is the key. And here's the deal. We as human beings are going to be attracted to the negative. We're going to be attracted to the horrific. We're going to be attracted to the horrible. And when we begin to go on social media and we look at images and stories, all of these things, we begin to get fed more and more of that. And pretty soon we have a steady diet of negativity. Steady diet of anything negative isn't healthy, whether it's food, whether it's magazines, whether it's television. A steady diet of negativity isn't good. So if we're going to be on social media, let's really try to focus on the positive and posting positive things out there in the world. And that can help us in our brains as well. We do a class. Yeah.
We don't mind talk about vulnerable people. I've seen a lot of different scams going on. They got this post office scam, people getting text messages or emails, or that your package couldn't be delivered, a package that you never ordered, so they can get your credit card number. And who are the most vulnerable for this?
This is very interesting and a little sad, as I'm starting to get into my 60s here, right? I'm 61, almost 62 years old.
Wow.
And
good,
what
man.
we know, you're up there with me. You're close.
I'm close, knocking the door.
So what we know is for older adults who are in their 60s, early 60s, even there's a part of the brain where we become more vulnerable to financial scams. This research is out there. Now, my father, 88 years old, sharp as a tack. Have a conversation with you tomorrow. You wouldn't know he was 88 years old, but he's been taken advantage of online financially. And I say to him, what are you doing here, Dad? Why would you want to send these people this money? I don't know. we need to be aware of what parts of our brains begin to kind of go away as we get older. And when you're an older person, you you have to at least say to yourself, I know that I could be more easily victimized. It's a hard thing to admit, right? We want to believe our brains are working, our thinkers are working for us. But the reality is, as we age, we are more vulnerable. Even if we are sharp in every other area of our lives, we can be more vulnerable. And but the truth of the matter is, almost anybody can be taken care of or taken advantage of online. We really have to take care of ourselves. You shouldn't be responding to if somebody's asking you for a credit card, your social security number, you don't know who they are, verify it, double check, call your bank, call the post office. Don't just respond to those text messages, email messages, the messages you get on social media. I have accidentally stepped into it. I thought it was beautiful the way it was done. I can't recall. I've stepped into them too. I've not sent anybody money once I figured it out. I was good, but I am trying to tell myself as I'm aging, if somebody's going to text me, message me, and they want some dollars out of me, not happening. Not happening till I verify.
Anything else you want to share before we go?
We offer a class called Social Media and the Brain, Social Media and Mental Health. If you go to Healthwest's website, healthwest.net, and look for trainings, you'll find it. Or if you Google Healthwest and Eventbrite, we're going to pop up with all of the presentations we do. It's about a 50-minute presentation. We take a little bit of a deep dive into it. We again don't preach abstinence, but what it is, we talk a little bit about the documentation, the research, all that we do currently know. And then the bulk of it is, how do I moderate my social media usage? Like, what are some steps that I can take now in order to begin to moderate it? And how can I help my children to moderate their social media usage? So I would encourage people, jump into that class. It's been extremely popular for a few years now, but jump in there, learn a few things, and hopefully it'll help to protect you. And just like cigarettes, hey, the Surgeon General is knocking at the door with warnings here. We know there are concerns. We're the first real generation to grow up with this sort of technology, and we need to be aware of the fact that there's some harmful side effects to it. So,
one last question. I think this might be the last one. What do you think is the most addictive social media site or app for the youth?
Okay, I can only go personally here. I'm going to say TikTok. And I'm going to say TikTok on a personal level here because I don't have a TikTok account, and I didn't have one when TikTok kind of was getting popular. But during COVID, I did open up a TikTok thing, and I want to tell you, man, I could be scrolling through those short little videos and I would go, man, where is 2 hours gone? We've done this, right, as human beings. Eventually, I got rid of it. It's of no real interest to me, probably an age thing. And I found it to be very, very addictive. But all of the social media, this includes YouTube, this includes pretty much anything that involves screen time. They're all designed to hook you in so they can sell you something, so they can get $1 out of you. So I would encourage people, use social media the way Paul does. Use social media the way businesses do. Get on there, use it for a purpose. Let's not just share in all the grief and the misery and the agony that's out there. And let's be careful about what our children are doing. And we got to monitor it. We got to monitor it.
DJ Glenda in Orlando, who says, "Hello, everyone. It's getting ridiculous with the scams."
Yeah.
And so, thanks for this awareness. So, TikTok is the most addictive site. Use it in moderation. Then that's what you would say.
Moderation. If you got to slow it down, do what you got to do. Take a walk without your phone once in a while. Put your phone away during mealtime. You know, there's other tips we can give you if you jump into the class as well, and we can come back and talk more in the future. I will say this. There's a book out there called Digital Minimalism. Digital Minimalism. Little thin book. It's small. I don't make a nickel for selling this guy's book. But it's a little book, and it gives you steps for how you can moderate social media in your life, steps you can take to protect your brain and your mental health from social media. And I would encourage people to get it. It's a real thin book, simple read. I would encourage people to jump into that one.
Thanks, my friend. Talk to you next month.
Thank you so much, Paul. We'll talk to you.
All right, take care.